Hi everybody, it's me, Gemma, and instead of doing a whole wrap up of my last year, I decided just to really focus on the superlative books, the books that really hit one way or another way. And I wanted to start off with the most unhinged, the most mental book that I read last year. It was, I think, like my only 1-star read. Now, I save 1 stars for books that I find actively offensive, and I'm going to talk about why I found this book actively offensive. So it's called The Descent by Jeff Long, and it is about a subterranean world beneath our feet. People find out basically that the underworld isn't, the earth doesn't have like a molten core sort of thing. It's actually hollow, and there is this race of like demon people living in the underground. Now, I watched a film called The Descent, and it's a horror film about cavers who go into a cave system and find themselves with a group of like a species of proto people who basically want to kill them and eat them. And it's a very tense horror movie. It's a very thriller. It's very taut as a thriller, and it's got a good way of telling the story. It's really good, and the characterization is also great. I thoroughly recommend The Descent as a horror film. This is not anything to do with the film The Descent. If you liked the film The Descent, you probably will not like this book because it's just like, oh my god. So I picked it up because it had the same name and it had a similar theme, and I thought maybe it was randomly based on it. I should have googled that because it wasn't. This book is, let me just see actually how long this book is. 572 pages this book is, so it's a chunker. I read it on Kindle Unlimited. On Goodreads, it has 7,000 ratings and the average rating is 3.96. And I really have to wonder, did these people read the same book as me? Did they read it? Did they comprehend it? Because so we start off in the Himalayas. There's a guide. He's like a seasoned alpine Himalayan climber, and he's taken this group, and it's full of like non-climbers and sort of amateurs. And they find what they think is a mummy in this cave system, which I don't think is unusual. I think there are mummies that are found in cave systems like that, in regions like that, but they realise that the mummy is actually like quite recent, and it's actually a non like Himalayan person. It's actually like an English person or an American person. And then things start to go really wrong. They realise they're not alone. They realise that something's trying to take them. And it kind of leaves off like that in the first chapter. Second chapter, we go in and we have the second main character, who is a nun called Alison. And Alison is sort of stereotypical white saviour character. She goes to Africa to do her mission and to help save the savage like locals. So I just found the second chapter to be a bit, oh my gosh, I thought, right, a bit tone deaf, but we'll carry on. And then we got to chapter 3, and it's set during like the Bosnian Serb war, like that whole conflict, and it's from the point of view of an American soldier. And at one point he's like, I don't want to save these people because they don't want to be saved. And you're like, my god, Jesus Christ. So he ends up getting kidnapped by these people that live underground. Anyway, so what I then found was it was very like it was a game of two halves. So the first half really is these three characters are our main point of view characters: the Himalayan guide, the nun, and the American soldier. And its first half is all about the discovery that these people, I think they're Hindals, they call them, are living in subterranean worlds, and they try and link it back to loads of like myths and rumours from different countries, and that for somehow these people have managed to remain hidden for thousands and thousands of years beneath the ground when they come up and eat bodies from battlefields and stuff, which is what happens in the first Bosnian chapter. So you're like, okay, but fine. And then it all gets into like things about they're trying to explore the underground, they're trying to find these Handal, they're trying to make contact with them, and it turns out that the Handal have been keeping like human slaves, and then there's a war, and the American army gets absolutely just slaughtered down there, and it all goes horribly wrong, and the Handal are just portrayed as being absolutely savage. They do all this body modification, they keep slaves, there's quite a bit of rape, sexual assault, which I was not expecting, I didn't like. And also they don't really speak like a proper language or anything like that. And the surface people are kind of trying to take over the underground. And I mean, I did find this bit quite realistic that companies would try and make money from it. So all that to say, the first half had problems, definite problems. It had a definite white saviour narrative in places which was not good. I didn't enjoy the way that the Hindal were portrayed. I actually watched a video recently by Thought Slime, and he was talking about Bone Tomahawk, and the things he said in that video, which I had seen Bone Tomahawk and liked it, but after he pointed it out, I was like, actually, fair point. And he was talking about how they were trying to use these racist stereotypes of native people, but lampshading it by saying, but these are native people, these are like a race of awful, untouched cannibals or whatever. And this thing with the descent is quite similar in that they're trying to say, look, these are not native people, these are not humans, these are not like African or based on any one culture, but they're very savage. And it's this whole like little winky winky nod, and I didn't like it. So, but at this point, I was like, do you know what? I'm going to finish it because I am not good at not finishing books. I'm not good at DNFing unless it's like awful. And I'm also going to say as well, when you read this book, you will be like, if this author is not American, I will punch myself in the face, because you can just tell a mile away, you can just feel that whole bald eagle patriotism thing just seeping through the pages. It's, fine if you're into that. But so then the second half is again the multinational corporation that's very into trying to take over the underground and exploit resources and blah blah blah. They decide to send like a multinational group a trip down there to like explore it and try and make contact and etc etc. And of course our Himalayan guide from the first chapter, who was originally captured by the Hindal, he got free. He was a slave, he got free, and they hire him to like lead the group. And Alison the nun is there as well for some reason, like she's nun, whatever. I don't know why she had to be there except to sort of hammer home this whole Christian narrative that's sort of weaving in and out throughout the book. So they are all on this big expedition. Again, things happen on the expedition that have like, there's no reason for the sexual assault that happens in it. It's not graphic, but it's there. And also the sort of slavery, and they're running into Hindal, and they're running into different things, and then all of a sudden there is a subplot about like a group, a council, who are investigating the fact that Satan is real. Where the fuck did that come from? And that the Hindal are like Satan's people, that they worship Satan and that he's in charge of them, and that there's like a city in the middle of everything where Satan lives. And yeah, what the fuck? I was just like, see, when I got to that part, I was started reading it and I was like, what the fuck? And honestly, I mean, this was probably about 200 and odd pages in that they start the whole Satan stuff. And then we get to the end and Satan's real. Yeah. And then everyone either dies or goes home. That's the end. I've heard that there's a sequel and that the nun is a main character in the sequel again, and I won't be reading that. I will not be putting myself through that. Just it's not happening. So, like, looking through the reviews on Goodreads, like the first one from like 2010 is like a 1 star as well, and this person had very similar problems to me, and that the the racism is just holy shit. And also there's other stereotypes that aren't necessarily like racist stereotypes. Like I don't know if I would call the stereotypes about the Bosnians and the Croats racist, but definitely like it's definitely xenophobic about that, and it's definitely xenophobic about like the nations and the people who are Islamic. So yeah, the most unhinged book I read last year. When I finished it, I was just it actually put me in a reading slump for like a month and a half. It really did annoy me so much that I was like, I just fuck this. I'm going to watch some telly. I can't be doing this. So if you liked The Descent, the movie, the creepy crawly creatures underground, just stick to watching The Descent, the movie. Make sure you watch the UK ending, no, not that American one. And don't read The Descent by Jeff Long. Just don't do it, because it's 572 pages of just a mess. There's definitely a good story in there somewhere that's like just lost underneath so much exposition, so much just random. I mean, it would have been more interesting to sort of have the Hindal be not good, but to just be like another species that you could communicate with, almost like aliens. I think that would have worked. But the way that he had to work the whole Satan thing in at the end, I was like, nah. So yeah, that was my most unhinged book of 2021. I will talk about my best book of 2021 in a separate video. But that's it for me. Take care. Bye.